I'm Valise, and I spend a lot of my time meeting with customers and some of you on the webcast, thinking about how to empower you to build more diverse teams. And what I thought we'd do today is a few things. So the first is I'd love to really share what our product philosophy around diversity is at LinkedIn, because I think that if I were to ask each of you what diversity is, we each have our own, we each have a different answer. So as LinkedIn, we had to align on what that product philosophy was, and I'd love to share that with you to kind of set the stage. The second is I want to leave you with some 3 tactical ways as to how you can leverage LinkedIn's diversity insights to empower your team today. The third is I want to give you a sneak peek at what's coming up on the roadmap for diversity. And then more importantly, I want to make sure that we have time for questions, because this is an ongoing conversation. We at LinkedIn do not have all of the answers, and it takes a conversation with you, a partnership with you, and your feedback to get this right. So with that, we can get started.
Yeah, so I need to interrupt you already.
Great.
This is a lot. It sounds amazing. And I'm just wondering right off the bat, we have so much to cover today. How does LinkedIn and how did you on the product team just start in terms of tackling diversity recruitment and tackling building it into our products?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is something we've been thinking about for years. And on the product team, anytime, before we build anything, we start talking to our customers. So I wanted to share kind of some of what we've heard. So from you, we've heard one main thing: help, right? It seems overwhelming. There's a lot that you can do. And so a lot of our customers will say, how do I even start? But also, how do I leverage LinkedIn data to help me do that? And so some of the challenges that we've heard from you are a few. So the first is around helping you identify diverse talent. And I know Ross led a great session around identifying diverse talent with Recruiter. I'm going to give you some additional practical tips. The second challenge that we hear is help me get started. Like, how do I plan for diversity and how do I set inclusive recruiting goals? And the third thing we hear is help me identify and reduce unconscious bias or areas of missed opportunities in my recruiting funnel through data and through insights, so I can take it back to my team and make change. So that's what we've heard from the hirer side. But at LinkedIn, there's there's kind of 2 sides to our marketplace. There are customers and our heads of talent acquisition, our CHROs, but then there are also our job seekers. And so before we built anything into the product, we met with LinkedIn members, people like you and me, around their thoughts on diversity and what they were looking for. And we heard one thing pretty loud and clear, which was, don't put me in a box. Mm-hmm. Job seekers want fairness, and they want to be hired because they're the best at what they do. They don't want to be hired because they check a special box. And I know that's super nuanced and really complex, but for us, we want to make sure that we respect our members' privacy on the platform, that we empower them, but that we do it right.
Yeah, this is so eye-opening for me, because it's something that I just didn't think of it from that perspective.
Yeah.
And then hearing it and putting my talent acquisition hat on and just like how we even approach diversity, this was one of the biggest aha moments for me. And it goes along with a question that we are getting from the live stream already, which is amazing. How does LinkedIn know members' genders?
Yeah.
And do we know members' genders because of the sensitivities around this?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to answer that question in, I think, the next slide after this. So let me come back.
We'll hold.
Thank you for your questions. Please keep them coming. So in terms of, so we've heard something from customers. We've heard we've heard about fairness from job seekers. And so at LinkedIn, what we decided was we are not going to build a separate product for diversity. We're not going to build a siloed solution. We want to do something even more powerful. We want to integrate diversity insights across every single tool that you use with LinkedIn. And this is what we call diversity by design. So it's weaving diversity insights throughout your entire suite of solutions with us. We are going to be starting, when we say diversity insights, we're going to be starting with gender. So our first insights on the platform will revolve around gender. And the way we infer gender and we kind of surface those insights, and I'll show you what this looks like in product in just a few minutes, is LinkedIn will look at a member's profile name.
Okay.
So let's say your name is Alexandra. LinkedIn will guess, based on a dictionary that we have, what your gender might be.
Got it.
And then it'll infer male or female. Now, we know that gender isn't binary, so we are exploring ways to empower our members to identify as another gender identity. And I'll kind of talk more about that.
Excellent.
In a few
Perfect.
slides. Yeah. When we think about diversity by design, the customers that are doing this well don't just think about diversity when they're hiring. They think about it throughout the entire talent process. And just to give an example, I saw this in the news a few weeks ago, and I thought I'd share it with you, of an example of when you don't have diversity by design. So I don't know if you saw this, Jill, but a few weeks ago, the first all-female spacewalk was canceled by NASA. It was postponed because there weren't medium-sized suits for the women walking. And so this is kind of where this is a missed opportunity.
Right.
And I thought it just highlighted what happens when you don't have diversity by design.
It's absolutely incredible because they're such simple things,
right,
as you mentioned, that maybe just you don't think of.
Totally. And so, as I also mentioned, we are going to be the first insights that you will see in product are gender. LinkedIn can infer member gender based on their first name, nothing else. And that's where we're starting. Now we know that gender isn't the end-all be-all of diversity, and so we know that race, ethnicity, disability status, diversity of thought, of skills, there's so much, but we wanted to start with something that was universal and applicable to all of our customers globally, and then scale what you're about to see in product to other types of demographics.
That makes so much sense. Just being an employee and looking at the product, I wondered, and it makes sense. And I think even when we were discussing with some of our panelists earlier, and even the team members on the line, it seems like gender is truly the one focus that is global right now, which is amazing.
That's right. So in terms of, I kind of want to shift now and talk about kind of practical tactics and how to leverage diversity insights in our products today. And I want to walk you through some examples, because what we hear is, I think everyone on this webcast, you, me, like everyone on the stream is bought in that diversity, inclusion, and belonging is really important. But what's really necessary is the how. How do I do this? And how can LinkedIn be your partner to make that happen? So what we're seeing is that companies are going to they're going through three fundamental shifts. The first is that they're starting to plan for diversity and using LinkedIn data, LinkedIn Gender Insights to help set that strategy. I'll show you what that looks like. The second is around, we're seeing companies wanting to hire fairer and to hire smarter. So how can LinkedIn start identifying those missed opportunities, those areas where the team is losing out on great candidates? How can LinkedIn help identify those so that the team can correct those? I'll also show you what that looks like. And then finally, all of you are doing such great things around diversity, inclusion, and belonging. How can LinkedIn help you activate that, right? Activate your employees, activate through media and social channels. How can LinkedIn amplify all of the great work that you're doing? And that's also something that I'll cover.
Amazing. I love just even being able to see how we're thinking about this, and then being able to see the practical applications that maybe I'm using right now in the product, I know are there, but I don't even realize it. So I'm excited to see how this all kind of comes together and how we can apply it as recruiters.
Great. So with that, let's kind of dive into the first challenge. So one of the things that we hear is, how do I start? How do I start planning for this? So let's say, Jill, that your CHRO comes to you and she says, Jill, in next week, I'd like you to share what our inclusive recruiting strategy looks like for 2020.
Right.
Where do you start? Where do you think you'd start?
Oh my gosh, it's overwhelming.
And that's what we hear. That's what we
Yeah.
hear from. That's what we hear from our customers. And so that was one of the first areas that we wanted to tackle.
Okay.
So I know a lot of you are familiar with one of our newest products, LinkedIn Talent Insights. This is a product that gives you LinkedIn data at the tips of your fingertips, right? This is a product that helps you answer, where should you open up your next, cybersecurity hub?
Yeah.
Or where am I losing talent? What does my retention look like? What skills do my competitors have that I need to bulk up on? Mm-hmm. And as part of that product, we also, in Talent Insights, we are also empowering companies to understand what their gender composition looks like internally. Now, I know this is data that a lot of you have through other tools, but more importantly, how do you benchmark against the industry? So, for example, if you're Flexus, what is your gender composition, and how does that gender composition benchmark and compare to other peers in the internet industry? And so you start quickly identifying: are you lagging? By how much? Mm-hmm. Are you exceeding? And not only can you look at this in the aggregate, you can also dive in per team. So how is my sales team doing? How is my engineering team doing?
Right within Talent Insights.
Right within Talent Insights.
That's incredible.
And so as a VP of talent acquisition, you can quickly see these are the teams that have the most room for improvement, and by X amount of points. Or these are the teams that are doing really well. My customer success team is exceeding industry benchmarks. Let's talk to the leaders in the customer success team and figure out what are they doing that other teams can learn from.
This is absolutely incredible. Just out of curiosity, what kind of informed this? And do you know, as part of your process and as part of the process of building these products, do we look at how companies might be pulling some of this data today?
Yeah,
if they're not leveraging something like this? That's
a great question. So what we've heard is that most companies do this by looking at census data, Bureau of Labor Statistics, internal data. But what we wanted to do was give companies real-time benchmarking.
Okay.
So that today, because the benchmark might change every week, every month, and we wanted to give you real-time data, and that's what you can do with Talent Insights.
So interesting.
Now let's say that you've identified that your engineering team has the most room for improvement, mm-hmm. and your CHRO says, great. I want you to, the following week, I want you to come up with a strategy to help identify more diverse talent pools that we can source from to increase our gender representation.
Right.
Now what? Right. So you can leverage all of the great tips and tricks that Ross went through earlier today as part of this program. You can also use Talent Insights. What I'd love to do is share a demo.
Awesome.
Of what that might what that might look like. So with that, I am going to transition into Talent Insights and show you and give you an in-depth product view. Can everyone see the screen?
Yeah, it looks good to me.
Wonderful. So I am looking at Talent Insights, and for those of you that are not familiar, Talent Insights has two types of report. I'm going to focus on the talent pool report because we're trying to increase gender representation in our engineering team, And let's say that the skills that you are looking for that team are C and C++. Okay. So I'm just gonna hit get started. And instead of adding a title, I'm just gonna add those skills. So C++ and C. And then let's limit our search to the United States. So immediately I have a ton of information right at my fingertips, right? I see how many professionals are in this talent pool. I can see who's employing this talent. See Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Intel. I can see that the hiring demand for this talent is very high, but I can also get a snapshot of the gender diversity of the talent pool. So 22% of women in the United States have C and C++. So I can start taking this data to my CHRO and says, this is what the gender composition of the talent pool looks like. But Talent Insights is gonna go a lot further than that. It's gonna help me identify new industries or new locations that I might not have thought about before, where the gender composition might be more favorable. Because from those pools, that's where I wanna source from to have a higher chance of bringing in more female candidates into the recruiting process.
This is so cool, and I think what's most powerful for our audience on the line, we always talk with our team members about how they can become talent advisors to hiring managers and business leaders within their organizations. Something like this just sets you apart because you have all the data right at your fingertips. Are any of these reports exportable, or do you have best practices on how to share some of this?
Yeah, so yes, we are working on having the reports be exportable. This is all, again, real time and clickable and shareable.
So even just sitting down in a conference room with your hiring manager, that's amazing.
Absolutely. So if I were to click, Jill, on, let's say, like the industry tab of Talent Insights, now I can see which industries are employing this talent with C and C++, and I can also start identifying new industries that I might not have considered to source from. So for example, if I scroll down here to the hospital and healthcare industry, 33% of that talent pool is women. And so that's higher than the industry average. This might not have been an industry that I'd considered before, because maybe I'm in the software industry and I'm just looking at select industries. So this is a new talent pool that I can include into my search in Recruiter and to, again, identify more gender diverse pools. I can also do the same for location. So I can see which locations in the US have greater gender balance. I can see that New York, Boston, the Dallas-Fort Worth area have greater gender representation. So I think to summarize, this is a tool that's giving you gender insights at the tips of your fingertips to help you identify more gender diverse pools that you can then incorporate into your recruiter search.
This is absolutely incredible. I feel like throughout today's live stream, I've just been such a fan of everything I'm seeing. One question I just want to be aware of, what about our customers? I'm sure some customers on the line have not invested in Talent Insights yet. Are there other products or other ways that they can find similar insights and do similar things with our products?
Definitely. I know that LinkedIn Talent Insights is a new product, so let's transition now to the next section, and I'll show you some of the insights in Recruiter.
Perfect.
Great. So kind of diving back into the slides. I'd love to talk about this other shift that we're seeing. It's hiring fairer to hire smarter. And so before I even show you what's going on in Recruiter, I want to kind of pause and share something I've learned doing this type of work about orchestras. So orchestras have experienced rapid gender transformation over the past 20 years, going from 5% women to over 30%. And now that might not seem like that much, but if you think about it, in the 1970s, only 5% of musicians in top orchestras were female. In the 1980s, it went up to 10%, 1990s, 25%, and now, well, well over 30%. So how did they do this? Like, what did they do? So I started to dive in, and what I learned is that they started to do blind auditions. So instead of having the musicians play in front of the jury, they would put up a curtain, and so the musician would just play. And beyond that, they even set up carpeting so that the jury couldn't hear whether it was heels or men's shoes.
Wow.
And so for us at LinkedIn, something we think about is how do we help businesses just listen to the music, or find those areas of opportunity, of maybe missed opportunities,
right.
and help flag that for them. And so that's what we're doing in Recruiter. So the first thing that you'll see in Recruiter around gender insights is in your InMale Analytics report. We've now weaved in gender insights to help you understand what does your InMale acceptance rate look like across men and women. Same thing for job reports. How are your job posts performing across men and women?
Yeah.
Because if there's a discrepancy, you can quickly, it makes your team pause and say, what could we do to make this more fair, to make
right.
this more equal? Is it should we reevaluate what's in the job description? Should we, and the requirements that we're asking for? Should we look at more inclusive language for those
right.
job posts or for those InMale outreach? Should we invest in things like employer branding to make sure that job seekers know all of the great diversity, inclusion, and belonging efforts at our company, or some of the great benefits? Like, it helps you pause to
absolutely
to identify those. And right now, this is just an InMale and in jobs report, but sneak peek into the roadmap. What we'd like to do is give you even more granular reporting around gender insights. So what does your gender kind of composition look like, and how does it change throughout every step of your recruiting process, so that you can quickly identify, hey, is it in the awareness stage? Should I invest more into employer branding?
Right.
Are my recruiters not reaching out to the same, is there a discrepancy in my recruiter outreach between men and women? Is it at the hiring stage? Where is it, and where should we invest?
That's amazing, because for everyone on the line, we have a lot of TA managers, TA leaders. This can help them actually develop their strategy for their team and where they're investing their resources.
That's great, yeah. And we hope to bring this to LinkedIn Recruiter in the coming quarter. So stay tuned.
I have a couple of questions.
Oh, yes, please.
I don't want to jump the gun, so if I am jumping the gun, just let me know. And maybe you're going to show this in the live demo, but I really love the orchestra analogy. Is there a way within LinkedIn Recruiter today that we kind of put up the curtain, put down the carpets for recruiters and TA orgs?
Yeah. So right now you can. There's a setting in Recruiter that allows you to turn off candidate pictures.
Oh, interesting.
And so that's one thing. But we're investing, and this is also kind of sneak peek into the roadmap. We're looking into doing the same thing for job posts. So when someone applies to your job, removing not only the picture but also the candidate's maybe first name and last name to anonymize.
That's amazing.
Yes. So I will give you a sneak peek.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Very excited for that one. Another question, just along the same line. So I think, and this is from the live stream, some of our customers have been asking for some of these changes and features for years. And it feels like over the past year, maybe 18 months, there have been some big steps in our roadmap and our product development, and so many more coming. What was kind of the turning point and the shift in focus in making some of these things happen fairly rapidly?
Yeah, feedback from you. So every customer meeting, every conversation that I had with our account team, diversity, inclusion, and belonging was the number one priority and challenge and we've always thought about. This is something that's core to LinkedIn internally.
Yeah.
But it was something that we also wanted to get right, which is why we did so much research, and we're trying to be really thoughtful. We know that we don't have a perfect solution. We know that we don't have all of the answers, but we wanted to start, and we want to continue to get your feedback, to continue to iterate, because this is an ongoing, long-term. This is not something that we're going to solve overnight.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So the third kind of final piece that I wanted to talk through was activating diversity, inclusion, and belonging. So inclusion and belonging, you can't have, any strategy needs to give employees, it needs to focus on retention, and it needs to give employees a feeling and a space that they're included, that they belong, that they're part of the organization. But it also needs to give job seekers a snapshot into that. And so what I wanted to highlight is, and this isn't net new, but just wanted to call it out because I see it a lot. Leverage your LinkedIn career page to amplify your culture and your D&I efforts. Some of you are doing incredible work. Make sure that it's on your career page, that you're investing in thought leadership, that you're blogging about it, and that you're sharing it with job seekers. Because if job seekers are 2x more likely to apply to your company if they know what your company is about. I personally care a lot about this, and if I don't see it featured prominently, I'm probably not going to apply.
Yeah.
So, and I know that the LinkedIn career page isn't a net new product, but I just wanted to call it out because it's such an easy thing to scale and to invest in. The second thing is, leveraging targeted media to attract job seekers. So if you're doing, like a women's leadership conference or a women in product dinner, making sure that you leverage sponsored content to get the word out. And we have some incredible targeting and to help you amplify that. So wanted to also call that out. And then finally, just leveraging LinkedIn Learning. We're seeing more and more of our customers leverage LinkedIn Learning to scale a lot of their education efforts, specifically around unconscious bias and inclusive recruiting. And it's just a very scalable platform to empower not only your recruiters, but all of your employees.
Amazing. So before we go into what's next, I have a couple of questions here, and I'm just trying to frame my thoughts because I've been thinking about it as you're talking as well. You're amazing, and it's really cool to see our product suite continuously being enhanced and new diversity features in order to enable recruiters who are using the products pop up. But I imagine it must be a whole process. So can you tell us a little bit about what the process is? What teams do you include, even maybe like what type of focus groups or research and insights do you look at when you're thinking about all of this? Yeah,
so in terms of focus groups, there tend to be two types of focus groups. So one around customers, and then customers of all sizes across all industries.
Got it.
And that are in different parts of their diversity, inclusion, and belonging journey. Some that are very mature, some that are just taking their first steps and trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
That is that for us is some of the most critical pieces of feedback. Cool. We also look at, of course, what the market is, what the industry looks like, what other vendors are doing, lots of inputs into that system. But of course, also connecting with members and making sure that everything that we do is members first, and that we respect member privacy and that we do things right. So that kind of speaking of members, that kind of takes me to what we're doing next around self-ID that I'd love to share with you.
I didn't even plan that, so perfect transition. I love it.
So what you saw today was all around gender insights. And I know that the question that you probably have is, okay, what about What about other types of demographics like race, ethnicity, disability status, veteran status? And the way we're going to do this is we are going to partner with our members and ask them to self-identify. And we've already started to do this, both in the US and globally. And we're asking members to voluntarily, and it's an option, to tell us how they self-identify. And then we'll use that information to layer it across recruiter, talent insights, jobs, the same way you saw for gender. And the reason we want to partner with our members is because we do not want to make that inference. We want to get this information right. This is really sensitive information. And again, like as LinkedIn, we are so thoughtful. And this really takes an active partnership with members. And then in terms of what else is coming down, I showed you that granular, kind of more granular report that shows you how gender shifts throughout your entire process. We're thinking more about further anonymization capabilities in jobs and in recruiter. And we are also thinking about real-time suggestions in recruiter. So as you're searching for candidates, having kind of key insights pop up and let's say, hey, Jill, have you considered this industry? Like, hey, have you considered the hospital and healthcare industry? That has greater gender balance. Or have you considered this location? That's not in your search. So being really proactive with you as you leverage recruiter. So that's
cool.
that's what's on the roadmap, and it's something that we're working on pretty actively right now.
Awesome.
Yeah. So with that was a lot.
That was amazing.
But I hope that was helpful, and we'd love to hear from you and get any questions. And again, ongoing conversation. So we can open it up to questions.
Perfect. And we already have some questions here, queued up, ready to go. Continue, as Louise said, bringing the questions in. But I'm just going to start with some of the ones that we have here. So one person asked, who or what department at an organization do you typically find accessing talent insights?
So it definitely varies.
Okay.
So it will be, if it's a more mature organization, it might be like the talent analytics teams.
Got it. Okay.
At other organizations, it's the CHRO or the heads of TA. And those insights are then cascaded down to their teams.
Right.
Or some organizations open talent insights up to everyone. So really, it really varies.
Okay. Yeah. Super helpful. Next question, and I'm not sure how much you can answer. Hopefully you can just be fully transparent.
Sure.
I feel like we've been really transparent on the line today. Which customers do you see who are nailing it today and really making the most of our products?
So the customers that I see nailing it are those, again, that think about diversity, inclusion, and belonging throughout every step of their process when they're planning and setting up their recruiting strategy for the next year, when they're searching for talent and they're not just limiting themselves to job titles, or I need them to have, if they didn't go to this specific school or have this specific experience, customers that have a much more, that are skills, that are hiring with a skills-based approach, are more likely to have more diverse talent coming in than those that limit their recruiter searches. And then customers that know that hiring is just the beginning, and that when you bring talent in, you also have to engage them. You have to keep them, you have to develop them. You have to think about retention and compensation. And so it's really customers that are doing it super holistically. Instead of in a siloed way. Hence why we're not building a siloed product.
Yeah. Awesome. Amazing. So someone I talked to a little bit earlier mentioned to me that they're the chief diversity officer at their organization. Their organization purposefully chose someone who had never been in a role like that before, which kind of makes sense because this is all so new to everyone. This is a question for you personally. How did you get into the focus on diversity specific to product?
Yeah, I think by a combination of luck and also passion. So my my background is I was a corporate lawyer for a few years.
Okay.
And I looked up at the leadership in that law firm, and I did not see anyone that looked like me. And for me, so this has always been a passion area. And just, I think being at LinkedIn, which is a place that encourages you to be vocal about what you're interested in, and my product and my legal experience. As I mentioned, we are very committed to member privacy. So this work also takes a very strong partnership with our policy team, our legal team, our diversity, inclusion, and belonging team to make sure that we get it right. So I think it was just luck and my background and being vocal about my interests.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. So let's close it. I'm looking at the clock. We've got some questions coming in, and I'll get to those if we have time, but
Sure.
I want to get this one in. What advice do you have for folks who are looking at these types of roles specifically focused on diversity and inclusion? And then also, second part to that, what trades do you read, and what would you recommend for people who are trying to continue to educate themselves on this really important topic?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in terms of advice, diversity, inclusion, and belonging is not just a challenge for the talent org to solve.
Yeah.
So the piece of advice I'd give is you have to inspire, and you have to get buy-in from other parts of the organization, specifically at the exec level. I think that is super, super important. I think it's also it's also the hardest part. But that would be my key advice. And in terms of like how do I stay updated? Gosh. LinkedIn Learning, I do. Harvard Business Review has a ton of amazing articles that I spend time with. So those are just. This is something I read about all the time.
Yeah, super helpful. And we do have a couple minutes for one more question.
Sure.
So this is going back to something we talked about in terms of the product.
Yeah.
So what results have you seen from using the recruiter anonymization feature? Would love to hear if any customers have piloted this in a concerted way, and what impact have they seen by experimenting with this?
Yeah, so this is, we have not, I don't have any like direct metrics, but what I've seen is you see different types of talent coming in the door that you might not, that you might have. So we ran this really interesting, we ran this gender diversity report in March, and what we saw is that recruiters are, they might be less likely to click on a woman's profile.
Okay.
But when they see when they are in the profile, they're equally as likely to InMale her as a man.
Got it.
And so what I see is like
cool.
the door is opening. Happy. I need to look at the metrics on those, but happy to share those later.
Amazing. And maybe as we share out some of the videos, would love to see some of that. And hopefully down the line, we'll have a case study we can share out.
Absolutely.